Hello and welcome to my shop where I like to waste time talking to a microphone that isn't even turned on. Anyway, this has been sitting for about an hour now, so the glue is dry enough that we can work on it. And to repeat what I've said, into dead air on my microphone being switched off, there's two things I screwed up on this. One is I need to make a little hole for a neodymium magnet right here, and I wanted to do that before I assembled this so I could make a more square bottomed hole. Not a huge disaster, but I'm a little annoyed with myself, and I'm going to write that into my processes, which I'm actually going to write down right here. The other thing is this groove here. It's really aligned up with the top of this, which is what I wanted. But it's like an 1/8 or 1/16 of an inch too high. The thing is, the wood that's going in there is 3/8 of an inch thick. So if I line the writing pieces up with the bottom of that, it's going to end up sitting proud of the top. I don't know if you can like that, just a little bit proud. And I don't want that. This is recoverable. This is not a big deal. I think what I'm going to do is I can cut some small grooves in the bottom of here for the cross pieces. So we'll get this sitting flush. Other than that, I'm very happy with where we're at right now. I have the top lid and the bottom marked out on this. As I was saying a moment ago to the dead microphone, we're going to go over to the table saw now. I'm going to make a rough cross cut here, make these rips, clean up the rips a little bit. Oh, they should be pretty close to identical. Then I'll swap over to the crosscut blade and finish the cuts. So let's go over to the table saw. As you can see, is already out because I was talking to a dead camera. Or a dead microphone, I should say. All right, let's get this out of the way. All right. Yeah, so we're going to make this a rough cut, and then I'll do the rips proper, like. So, gear up as we always do. Dust collection on. Plug the saw in. Well, that's actually slightly wider than I want it to be. It fits. There's a little bit of a wobble, especially on the bottom. See, there's a tiny gap right there. Maybe a 32nd or a 64th of an inch. And I want it tighter than that. The top maybe is okay. I mean, the top has to be able to move in and out anyway. So that little bit of a gap might be acceptable, but it's definitely not acceptable for the bottom. So let's make another go at this. Okay. Now we're slightly too wide, so I can just nibble off a little bit until I've got it right. All right, I think that's about as good as I'm going to get it. Well, that's nice and snug on top. So that piece might just go scrap. Let's switch over to the crosscut blade now. Saw's unplugged. As I mentioned in the other video, it is kind of a pain in the ass swapping back and forth between blades, but for the kind of work I'm doing, I think I sort of have to make sure my cuts are precise the way I want them to be. Come on, there we go. The Wen saw has this little lockdown on it, kind of like a circular saw might have. Most table saws, you have to use 2 wrenches. I think I like this better than trying to twist a pair of wrenches. I mean, it's not like you need the wrench leverage. This is only going snug. You don't need this kind of leverage to rank down with that much torque to loosen and tighten a saw blade lock nut. Okay. I'll lower this. Get the crosscut sled back on. Let's Up our crosscut height. Lock that down. I think this is this is the piece I'm happy with the dimensions on. So let's call this one the bottom. So we're going to be cutting roughly there, but again, we want to cut it a little long, and then trim off to fit. All right. So right about there is going to cut it long. All right. Let's gear up. Dust collection on. All plugged in. Bingo! Okay. The top is ever so slightly proud over here. Yeah, right here. And it looks like something's not perfectly square. But instead of trying to take that off with the saw, I'm going to try and sand that square. Because it really is like, what, like a millimeter or something. I want to take it down, but just a tiny little bit. So I'm going to do that with sandpaper instead of the saw. All right. Let's put our push stick away. And we'll put the saw blade away. Since, yeah, that's all the sawing we're going to do for right now, for this moment, for right this second. So I'm going to put the side with the pencil line out. That back so you can see me and see what I'm doing here. I'm going to glue the bottom in, but I'm going to put the side with the pencil line facing out so when I sand it, we can take that off. And this is a snug enough fit. I think we can just put some glue on it and tap it into place. Oh, it almost doesn't want to go in. Is it going in this way? All right, you went in a moment ago. Why aren't you going in now? All right, I am super confused because all of a sudden this seems like it's a little too wide. That fits. That doesn't quite want to fit. I thought I had that fitting. That's all right. So this we're definitely going to sandpaper. I know I'm off camera. Just grabbing a little piece of 60 grit. Hopefully just one piece of 60 grit. Feels like more than one sheet there, but. Is it this dimension? Yeah, it's that dimension that's not quite fitting. You really just need to take a little bit off. Just a little bit. We want it to fit, but we don't want it to blow the sides out when we put it in. The wood is going to swell a little bit with the glue. Wow, that is super snug. I want it to be a little looser than that. If I try and jam that in, it's going to blow these seams apart. At least I'm afraid that's what'll happen. Little snug right there. I'm an idiot. That was the top. Did I just fuck this up? Well, happy accident. Because I just managed to sand that exactly to the size I wanted it. And this was the bottom. So it doesn't have the spalting and it fits perfectly. Wow. Wow. I need to pay attention to what I'm doing. All right. Let's get the bottom glued in. I think I can just put some glue and drop it into place. Let's do that. As I said, the wood will swell a little bit with the glue. I bet y'all were watching this going, dude, what are you doing? That's the top piece. Don't you see the fucking spalting on it, you idiot? Yeah, I know. I know. Here we are. Once more, dear friends, unto the breach. We'll close up the hole with our English dead. That is really slippery. Okay. That's the bottom. And I think what I want to do is a piece of scrap wood. Put a little wax on it. So the glue that's on the bottom of that doesn't stick to it. I don't think it will, but I want to make sure I'm not gluing this to my bench. Okay. That's the bottom done. And that's the top cut to size. Inadvertently. Intentionally, but not intentionally. All right, what do we need to work on now? Suppose I could clamp that, but I don't. Do I need to clamp that? Let me clamp that. Just for the heck of it, right? One in each direction. It's not going anywhere. Take up that tiny little bit of space that's in there. Here we go. We're getting just a little bit of squeeze out. All right. I feel better about that. Now, I'm going to take a moment. I'm going to write down my orders of operation here. So step one is to resaw to 3/8 of an inch, if needed. Like I said, this wood I purchased was already 3/8 of an inch. Number two is to rip it down to 3.5 inches. Yep. Number three, I'm going to cut sides and front. This was 4 3/4 and 4 1/4. But that's not right, though. Oh, this is 3/8. So we need 4 3/4. So we need 3/4 minus 3/8. 3/8 is 6/4. I'm confusing myself. This is 3/8. Right. So 4 3/4 minus minus 3/8, which is 6/4. Right. We can't do 4/4 minus 3/4. We need to convert this to eighths. I'm doing it backwards. 4 3/4 minus 3/8. This is 6/8. So 4 3/8. Is that right? I'm confusing myself. Right, that should be 4 3/8. 1, 2, 3/8. Yeah. So sides are 4 3/4. 3 sides, 1 front, or this is 2 sides and a back, whatever. 4 3/8. Step 4 is through sides, 1/8 wide, 1/4 inch deep, and 3/8 of an inch from the top. But that's not going to leave room for the piece underneath. We got to think about this. We got to think about this carefully. Come over here. So I want this piece to sit in here. So the distance from here to the top of this groove should be 3/8 of an inch. And then plus 1/8. So that's 4/8 of an inch, which is 1/2. So this should be 1/2 of an inch. So that's going to be 1/2. So that's going to be 5/8 down that we want that to be. Right? Because we don't want that groove to be, we don't want this groove to be 1/4. We want that to be 5/8. No, we want this to be 4/8. So that's 1/2. So this shouldn't be 4 1/4. This should be 4 3/4 minus 5/8, not 3/8. 3/8, 4/8, minus 1/2. I'm really confusing myself. 4 1/4. That's so 3/4 minus 1/2 is 1/4. That's what it is. That needs to be 1/2 an inch. So that is 4 1/4. So I cut this one too long. That's what I did. Yeah. So the front piece should be 4 1/4. And 3/8 from top. Step 5. Cut hole for magnet. Step 6, glue up body. Step 7, cut top and bottom. Step 8, glue in bottom. So now we're on step 9, make the trim pieces. All right, now we get to decide what we're going to trim this in. I have some Caribbean rosewood here that just so happens to be exactly the right size for that. And another piece of Caribbean rosewood that is just long enough to do my side pieces. I do pieces across the side here. You'll probably be able to see in the pictures I shared. 2 reasons. One, to add a little bit of decoration to break it up, but also it's a cross piece that crosses these 2 joints to add a little strength to them, because butt joints are a little twitchy strength-wise. But for starters, let's cut our front piece here. So it's going to be that and that. See, this is where it could be kind of a pain in the ass to have the 2 saw blades, because I have to make a rip cut and a cross cut. So this is where I think having a really nice combination blade would be good, which I'm probably going to go and look on and buy right now. Because it really feels like kind of a pain in the ass to try and swap out blades just to make a couple of quick cuts like that. Anyway, I mean, my other maple one is trimmed in Caribbean rosewood. I don't know, maybe I'll save the rosewood for something else. I do have this piece of purple heart that's kind of hacked up, as you can see. I was trying to make cuts with it. Yeah, let me finish. I'm gonna cut this off here, and let's use the purple heart for this one. We'll save the rosewood for something else. Let's do that right now. Table saw. Getting ahead of myself. Okay. You're up. Now, some of this is already dimensioned down at least a bit. So I'm going to square up this edge. Yeah, let me square up this edge, and then I'll see if I can cut the front piece off just as it is. So this piece isn't, well, it isn't evenly thick. And it's got a big tear out in the middle of it from the saw blade. So I think what I would like to do is use a bit off of here. Looks like it's cut deep enough. Let's do that. Yeah. Let's try this. Okay, I think this is going to be more workable. Yeah, now we've got a consistent thickness, at least thick enough that that divot won't matter. It's a little taller than I'd like, but we can trim that down and we can trim the length. This is really nasty stuff to work with. It's very splintery. I don't think the dust is super great to be breathing in. Not great stuff. Okay, that is close enough where I think I can sand it the rest of the way. Well, that was dumb. Okay, just wanted to get a little bit of that dust out of there. So this is just about the size that I want it. You can sand it down just a little bit. See, that's going to sit right there. Up against the lid like that. I think I might just glue that on right now. Well, this is a spot where I think super glue is a little more useful than regular wood glue. So let me go get that. So what we can do is set the box like that. Can you see what I'm doing here? If I set the box like that, I can drop the lid in place like that. And run a little bit of super glue along there, and then spray some activator on this piece, and it'll just like instantly sock it right on. Question is, I've got this little divot right here. Do I want to put that facing out so I can sand it away? I want to put it facing in to try and make it hidden. Let's put it facing in to try and make it hidden. We're going to line that up. I want to be really precise about this. The more accurate I make my cuts, the less fiddling I'll have to do with files and sandpaper or whatever to get it right where I want it. There we go. And we put our super glue along here. Spray our activator in there. As soon as we stick these together, it will insta-cure that super glue. Like so. I'll just hold that for like a second or two. And we have a lid. Easy peasy. Yes, I still have to make the understrips, but so let's do that right now. Do I have anything ready to go that I can use for that? Let's take a look in a book. It's Woodworking Rainbow. See, I've got some veneers that I ended up cutting, but these are going to be too thin because they need to be 1/8 of an inch. Let's see. I know I had some thin strip I cut the other day. That is also too thin. All right. I do not have. So I do have a piece of maple here that we can use. So we need to cut some 1/8 inch strips off of this. So back to the rip blade. I really need to make like a thin strip cutting jig. It's one of the jigs I haven't made yet. And I think I'm really going to need for this work. Now, all of this is taking much, much longer than I think it will once I have the process down. That's really what I'm kind of trying to do, is get a process down. Because I need to be able to produce a bunch of these all at once in fairly short order. I mean, if this is going to make any sense to try and sell. I also need to make a 0 clearance insert for this, but I have not yet, so blue tape it is. Voila, a 0 clearance insert. There is not much there to work with. You know what? Let me get a larger piece. If I use a bigger piece like this, that way I can, yeah. You need to start by squaring it up because it is not square. Not even a little bit. This way I'll have room to be using the push stick over here. That's what I'm trying to say. And that's going to make me a lot more comfortable. All right, gear up. Getting a little burning on the cut there. I mean, I'm pretty sure my blades need to be washed, at the very least. Possibly it's time for a resharpening. But look at that. Look at that beautiful fit. Look at that. Look at that. They aren't going to go in this way, though. They're going to go in this way. I'm going to add two. You can't see what I'm doing over there. They aren't going to go in this way. They're going to go in this way. I'm going to put 2 strips in, and that's because I don't want the grain running this way, because the wood is weaker across the grain in that direction, and it could split off. So if I do it like this, that's not going to happen. But as I mentioned earlier, these I can cut by hand, I think. That's not what I mentioned earlier. Let's get these cut, and then I'll talk about what I mentioned earlier. My dehumidifier is full again. It happens frequently down here. I'm putting my back to you. Shouldn't have my back to you. Should be able to see what I'm doing. Come on over here. I'm trying make this cut here. I don't really have good solid surface to do it. Again, cutting a little bit long. I can always use sandpaper or a chisel to shorten it up just to get a precise fit. Very little downward pressure. Basically, just the weight of the blade. Anything else is just going to make the whole thing harder. Look at that. Look at that. Perfection. But as I mentioned earlier, if I just go with that, you can see the lid sitting a little proud. I don't know if you can see that or not. Yeah, right there. So what I need to do is mark where I want these, and then make little grooves to fit them in, probably with the router table. It's going to be the easiest. It goes like this, right? Which way does this go in? Definitely goes the other way. Yeah, goes like this. Yeah. I think I can just freehand a couple of lines here. Actually, I've got one line I can use right there. And then what I can do is I can use this as a spacing. Put the other one right there. Oops. And we'll put that right there. Sweet. Look at that. Now the question is, do I have a router bit that is wide enough to make that in one pass? I do indeed. Huzzah. All right, let's bring the router table over. And how deep is this going to be? Eighth or a 16th. Let's get the setup blocks out. Let's see what they have to say. Less than an eighth. I think it's going to be a hair more than a 16th. 3/32. Spot on. So that's how deep I need to make the holes. Say hello to my little router table. Okay. So what I'm going to be doing is putting this on there and making a pass that way. So start by swapping out the bit. You think when I get this lid done, we will pause, take a break, and make this another video because this is almost an hour. So when I come back from this one, we'll move on to the side pieces and the finishing. Like really, that's about it. Some sanding, you get the dimensions right, and then finishing. All right, 3:30 seconds. Yes, this is unplugged. Okay. Same safety gear rules apply. And before we do that, ooh, that sits a little bit below there. That's not going to quite be deep enough, is it? Hmm. And that's going to be sitting not quite level. Interesting. Is this? It is also not quite level. That is like a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to need a spacer that is just about exactly a 1/16 of an inch. So what about my veneer pieces here? All right, I can use the veneer piece for a spacer when it gets to that. Let's make a test cut first. Grab a scrap. This machine is messy. Okay, the second cut didn't work as well as the first one, but I think it's workable. Let's snap that in there. It doesn't want to snap in there. A little too snug, so we'll just take a chisel. Actually, let's do it with sandpaper. Let's do that. Yeah. Here we go. Now let's see if that's at a proper height. Feels still a little too high. All right. Note to self, when making the top, I've got to cut these grooves. I shouldn't even have to cut these grooves, actually. If I'm doing it properly, this groove making will be an unnecessary step. So no note to self for this one. Okay, the back one is spot on. So we are going to glue that in place. Yep. It's a little old regular old wood glue for this one. Centered by eye. Sure it fits. Yes. Yeah, see that front one's a little raised up just a little bit. See if we can chisel that. Now we're gonna chisel. Should be easier. Had something holding it still, like my vise. Yes, I know. Well, this is exactly the width of this chisel, 3/4 of an inch. Like just literally exactly. Come on. Need to come out a little bit there. All right, let's try that. Oh, that looks even higher for some reason. Because that's not staying in its slot. Come on, get in there and stay in there. Still just a little too high. See if we can chisel it down just a little bit more. See, if things go well, then I shouldn't have to do this at all going forward. Because I'll just be able to glue them right on without making a groove at all. Groovy. Man, it is still just a little bit high. Like just need to take it down a tiny little bit. Sand the middle of this down a little bit. Take a little bit of material off there. I know, this is exciting television, right? Watching me sand. Watching me screw this up. Not that anybody's probably ever going to watch this, but... Oh, you know, I can see that it's still a little bit proud there. See, I've got to stop over here. Let me just push stuff out of the way so I can use it. I mean, this is what I freaking installed it for. Bench top for doing this kind of work. Ooh, that's going deeper than I want it to. All right, let's see if that's got it down enough. Pretty close, not quite there, but we'll get there in a second. See, all of this is, another reason I'm doing this is to kind of see how much time it's going to take me to make these. And all of this is time that shouldn't be factored into the final product, because if I make the cuts right, I won't have to do this part. Which is a good thing, because this is a pain in the ass. All right. The lid is on. Time to take a break. I'll see you in the next video where we will do the side braces and then start the finishing, I think. Pretty sure that's all we have left. Yeah. We've got the box, we've got the lid. Got the bottom glued in. Yeah, we just need to do the side pieces. Sweet. See you in the next video.